Southern California, good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Today we have ourselves quite a show, as we have a lot to get to in the world of Southern California sports, such as the Rams bouncing back with a nice win over the Patriots. But now they have a bigger challenge as they host the Philadelphia Eagles. Can the Rams make it 2 in a row, and can they win on primetime? Also, the Chargers picked up their 4th straight win as they outlasted the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, can they keep it going and win their 5th straight against the Baltimore Ravens? Also, it's the Battle of LA as USC and UCLA square off against one another as Big Ten hosts for the first time. Will the Trojans emerge victorious, or will UCLA win the 2nd straight over the Trojans? Also, LSU and LA Galaxy are back in action this weekend, and we have a little team that's undefeated in NCAA men's basketball from Southern California. Also, the Lakers was a gut-wrencher to the Orlando Magic last night, but the Clippers have won 2 straight, which has been very promising. Can the Clippers keep it up? Can the Lakers get back on track? All that and more here on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on iSports Radio, your feed for all that is sports. And welcome all to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful Friday afternoon, Friday evening, Friday morning, Friday, wherever you are listening from. Either way, you have made your way to episode 202 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Without any further delay, let us begin. But first and foremost, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show would not be where it's at without IE Sports Radio providing the platform to go live on StreamYard. Please do follow IE Sports Radio on several different social media platforms such as X, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And also make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. We would definitely appreciate it. We are almost to 300 subscribers. With your help, we could surpass that. We're trying to get to 500 by the end of this month, if not by the end of December. So please do subscribe to us on YouTube. Also, make sure to check us out on several different podcast platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podcast Addict, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Audible, CastBox, Deezer, Podcast Addict, GeoSavin, Podchaser, you name it. Make sure to check out our website, iesportsradio.com, for all of your latest sports news, our blog, our pages dedicated to each podcast, such as the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, our merchandise shop where you can cop t-shirts, tank tops, hoodies, and a whole lot more. Also, make sure to check out our Hall of Fame, as I am part of the IE Sports Radio Hall of Fame. Also, make sure to check out our blog, which is ran by Mike Pat and regulated by Mike Pat, and so much more. For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel, to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Thank you to everyone for all of your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that sports. Before we get on into the SoCal sports content, we have to pay a little bit of homage to our sponsors, Plant Jerky, Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, and Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. Also, we need to talk to you all what IE Sports Radio is all about. So without any further delay, let's talk to you about our sponsors.
IE Sports Radio fans, This show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the iSports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
That's right, everybody. Definitely check out iSportsRadio.com as well as Planet Jerky, Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, and Seal the Deal Wax Seals. And the way you can follow the SoCal Supreme Sports Show on social media is on X, formerly known as Twitter, at SoCal Show IESR. You can follow me, Teran Rodriguez, personally on X, formerly known as Twitter as well, at Teran Rodriguez1. That's where you could see all of me covering high school sports, as well as me bantering about the Chargers and why they find several different ways to put my heart through the ringer. But I digress. All right, anyway, so without any further delay, let's get on into the SoCal sports action. So we got to talk some Rams first because if we're going in chronological order, we got to go with Rams first because they played, but I digress. Anyway, so the Rams had themselves a very interesting game against the Patriots. Rather quite the fascinating game, if you ask me. It wasn't really the cleanest game, but it wasn't really the worst game, as they outlasted the New England Patriots on the road 28-22. So they're back at 500, which is definitely a good thing just because they got to keep pace with their division, and they got a little help along the way as the Seahawks also defeated the San Francisco 49ers. So now it's basically a three-horse race for second place, as everyone is literally trailing the Arizona Cardinals, which I don't think anybody would have predicted the Cardinals to be in first place. But Rams are only one game back, as everyone has had their bye, which is very nice. All right, but against the Patriots, the Rams actually start off falling behind. They're down 7-0, and I was thinking, oh, God, the Rams are really going to have this clunker of a game. But they were able to bounce back. Second quarter, they really started to get it going as Matthew Stafford hit Cooper Kupp for a short touchdown pass, and he also hit Puka Nacua for a 12-yard touchdown pass. Now, when Puka caught that pass, it was a touchdown, but he hit his head on the turf, and it looked like he was concussed. I was like, oh, no, not again with Puka getting hurt. Fortunately, he was able to come back in the game, and he was able to finish out. Eventually, the Rams led 14-10 at halftime, which was nice. Good to see the Rams leading. They went up 21-10 early in the third quarter as Stafford hit Cooper Kupp for a 69-yard touchdown pass. Excuse me for one quick second. Sorry about that. Had a little bit of a cough. I am feeling a whole lot better now. I'm not as sick as I was Monday when I was just extremely stuffy and miserable, but I still got a little bit of a sinus infection, but I am totally fine. I'm so much better than I was on Monday, that's for sure, but I digress. Okay, but anyway, Rams eventually went up 28-13 going into the fourth quarter, as Rams were looking very strong offensively, but the defense did also answer the bell. Unfortunately, the Patriots found a way back into this game, which really frustrated me. Thankfully for the Patriots, they weren't able to close out. They are a very inexperienced team. Drake May is still learning, but thankfully the Rams defense was able to come up clutch when it needed to. The Rams altogether in terms of total yards, they had 400 total yards. And even though they didn't dominate time of possession, that was heavily dominated by the Patriots. The Rams were able to hold them off and pick up the win. Nice win right there. Never easy to win on the road, especially since you're far across the country. Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp both had 100 receiving yard games, which I thought was pretty cool. Now, the one negative I thought was Kyren Williams didn't get a chance to run the ball all that much. So I guess either McVay kind of figured out that the Patriots have one of the better run defenses, or they just wanted to get the passing game more involved. As Matthew Stafford threw for a whopping 4 touchdowns, which was very cool. He also had about 95 yards. So great stuff right there from Matthew Stafford. Nice little bounce back game from last week excuse me for one quick second. God, all sorts of allergies happening for me today. But Matthew Stafford and the Rams offense had a nice little bounce back game after the previous week where they just put up 15 points to the Miami Dolphins. All were field goals. Unfortunately, not everyone can be like the Pittsburgh Steelers where they're winning via field goals, and it just can't work that way. So the Rams are back to 500, which is great, and I'm happy for them. I'm happy they're at 500, and I'm happy they're starting to become a little more healthy than they should be, and I'm glad they're starting to get pretty much back up to full strength. So they are back in action on Sunday Night Football, as they host the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, this one's going to be a fun matchup, but it's also going to be very tough. The Eagles have won 6 straight games. If I basically had to say this was a must-win, I kind of feel it is, but I feel this is going to be one of those games where the Rams are due for a clunker. And the rest of the way, the Rams' schedule is pretty tough. They've got the Eagles this week. Next week, they've got the Saints, which surprisingly have won. Did they have a bye? I don't think they did. Oh, no. Well, no, they beat the Browns. So I believe they've won 2 in a row, which I guess firing Dennis Allen does that for you. And they have the Bills, which are surging, having knocked off the Chiefs. Then they have the Niners on a short week. The Jets, I don't know what to make of them, but they have to go back up east to take on the Jets. And their last two games are against the Cardinals and the Seahawks. That basically could be for the division or a wild card spot. So, yeah, this is basically pull up or shut up for the Rams. And I'm hoping they're able to come up clutch when it matters most, because that's what good teams do. Now, if the playoffs started today, Rams are 5-5, which is cool and all. But if the playoffs started today, I imagine the Rams would be on the outside looking in. Yeah, they're right behind the Washington Commanders, and they're a distant right behind the Washington Commanders, who are 7-4 and occupying the last wild card spot. So the Rams are really going to need to win some more games, and they're going to need a little bit of help along the way, just because they just can't. They have to. Well, first and foremost, they need a little help, but they also need to take care of business on their end. So they got to pull off maybe an upset or two or a big win or two, either against like maybe the Niners or another one of their divisional foes. I think they're probably better than they were when they took on the Seattle Seahawks. Obviously, they were banged up and bruised when they first met the Cardinals. So I think for the Rams, they just gotta take care of business at hand. And if they could beat the Eagles, that would be so big for them, just because the Rams need all the wins that they can get, just because the NFC is basically a logjam for who's going to get the wild card spot. I mean, they can get the division for sure, but honestly, making the playoffs in general would be so big. I mean, everyone predicted Rams would be a wild card, but with how the NFC West has been this season, the NFC West is up for grabs. So it's only a matter of time before the Cardinals loosen their grip. So this week, the Rams are playing the Eagles, who have won 6 straight games. This is going to be a very tough one. Look, I don't know how to say this. The Eagles are obviously better than last year. They obviously are playing so much better. Saquon Barkley has been a masterpiece for the Eagles offense. Jalen Hurts obviously has been doing great things. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith have been doing amazing in the receiver core, and Dallas Goedert as well. I don't know how to say this, but this one's going to be a tough one. But I have the Rams suddenly winning. I feel the Eagles are going to be due for a letdown game, and I think the Rams pull off this win 31-28. It's not going to be easy. The Rams are going to really have to play their A game against the Eagles, especially on primetime as well. So I think the Rams are really going to the Rams have to obviously get the run game going. They obviously have to have a great pass game. They obviously need to protect Matthew Stafford at all costs. So I'm hoping for the Rams' sake they are able to beat the Eagles. I mean, again, the Eagles have won 6 straight, but I think they're due for a little bit of a letdown game. But it all depends. Are we going to see the Eagles that imploded last year, or are we going to see the Eagles that have won 6 straight? So I think the Rams, this one's going to be an uphill climb, but if they can get another win going into New Orleans, that could even be a bigger feather in their cap. But for now, I have the Rams winning, but golly, if the Rams, I wouldn't say the Rams are in trouble if they lose this, but I would not be surprised if the Rams lost this one. But I'm going to boldly predict the Rams winning this one 31-28. All right, that's that for the Rams. Now jumping over to the Chargers. This one was a fun one on Sunday Night Football. I could not believe what I saw. So the Chargers took on the Bengals on Sunday Night Football and outlasted them 34-27 to win their 4th straight game. This was a game to be exact. So early on, the Chargers jumped out to an early 7-3 lead. Their defense was holding the – excuse me for one quick second. Sorry. Their defense was holding the Bengals at bay. They were getting to Joe Burrow. They were stuffing the run game. It was just really impressive that the Chargers defense really came to play. They were up 24-6 at halftime, which I was very surprised. Now, toward the end of the first half, the Chargers got the ball on the 1-yard line after a pass interference call on the Bengals. I'm very surprised the Chargers did not go for it and try to go for the touchdown, because there was I think 5 seconds left, maybe 5 or so seconds left before halftime, and the Chargers just opted to go for the chip shot field goal. I maybe would have liked to have seen the Chargers go for the touchdown, just because I know maybe a run would have been obvious, but why not have maybe Justin Herbert have an RPO and then just keep it himself for the score? Maybe quarterback sneak it. So it is what it is. So instead of being up maybe 28-6, the Chargers are up 24-7 or 24-6. They eventually went up 27-6 because they got a field goal on their first drive. So it was looking good for the Chargers. But then the Bengals really start to the Bengals showed why a lot of people picked them to win. And Joe Burrow got Jamar Chase involved. He also got T. Higgins involved. And suddenly, what was once a 21-point game is now down to a 7-point game. And unfortunately, the Chargers, they did not look like the dominant selves in the second half. They got complacent, and this was what I was fearing. I was like, oh, God. Second half kicked in, the Chargers go back into charging mode. And that was my biggest fear for the Chargers, that the second half they'd get complacent, they'd get lazy, they just wouldn't be able to take care of business. And suddenly the Bengals tied it at 27 apiece. I think it was either before the fourth quarter began or early in the fourth quarter, because Joe Burrow hit Jamar Chase with a nice little touchdown pass. So, yeah, the Chargers just could not get out of their own way. And it was like the rest of the fourth quarter, it was either back and forth with the Chargers having to go 3-and-out or punting, and the Bengals punting it, and then the Chargers punting it. And then the Bengals got in good position for a field goal, but Evan McPherson missed it wide left, just to the left. And suddenly the Chargers got another chance to get at least some sort of points, but they had to go 3-and-out because the offense just was not working. And then eventually the Bengals had another chance. They got in another field goal. I think the first one was 48 yards. The second one was 52 yards, but Evan McPherson missed it left. So Chargers got the ball. Unfortunately, they went 3-and-out again. And then eventually the Bengals got the ball. They had to go 3-and-out. And I think the Chargers went 3-and-out again. And then the Bengals went 3-and-out again. And eventually the Chargers finally got their you-know-what together. They managed to put together a game-winning drive. And eventually J.K. Dobbins rumbled on in for the touchdown. Now, if I were Dobbins, I maybe would not have gone in for the touchdown. I would have gone down at the 1-yard line and have the Bengals waste their timeouts, because the Bengals were burning through their timeouts while the Chargers were on this drive. And the Bengals only had one timeout, and they could have forced the Bengals to use their last timeout, and it would have been a chip shot field goal for Cameron Dicker, and have him just walk it off instead of just giving the ball back to the Bengals, because that could be the most dangerous thing ever, especially when you're facing Joe Burrow and his really good receivers. Eventually, the Bengals did get the ball as Joe Burrow chucked one more Hail Mary, but it was batted down by Derwin James, and the Chargers were able to hold on. So, God, that was such a game. It was nerve-wracking. I was frustrated. I was perplexed. I was baffled. I was happy in the end. But, man, that was such a stressful game. The 27 points are the most the Chargers have given up this season, but the 34 points are the most that they've scored. It's actually the first time they have surpassed 30 points, which that's so hard to believe. And it was also the first time they've given up more than 20 points this season. 20 points against the Steelers was the most they'd given up beforehand. So, yeah, stressful game, but the Chargers were able to come up big, and they get their first primetime win of the season, which I can now rest peacefully knowing that the Chargers have at least one primetime win. Kind of like last year when they had 2 primetime wins against the Bears and the Jets. But the Bengals win was a significant win. That win right there could be the difference between the Chargers making the playoffs and missing the playoffs. And as a fan, it makes me so happy that the Chargers did not fully Charger. Yes, I know they had their moments where they almost gave the game away, but look at me rocking my Charger gear, my Charger hat as well. I'm happy to say this is exciting times for the Chargers. Now, they're 7-3, but they have a ways to go. There's nowhere near out of the woods. They have another primetime game as they'll remain at home to take on the Baltimore Ravens. And this one's going to be another big-time game. So first and foremost, it's the Harbaugh Bowl between Jim and John, and it's going to be on Monday Night Football. So, yeah, out of the frying pan with one primetime game against an AFC North opponent and into the frying pan with another. So, yeah, this one's going to be a tough one. Obviously, the Ravens have had the Chargers number in most recent years. Last time the Chargers did beat the Ravens was in the wild card round back in 2018 when Phillip Rivers was the quarterback and Anthony Lynn was in his second year as head coach. But, yeah, Chargers have another big-time game, and I'm kind of terrified for this one. I fear the Ravens, they've gotten punched in the mouth a few times, and they most recently lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I have a feeling this one is going to be a very tough game. As much as I want to see the Chargers pull off the win, I think the Chargers unfortunately dropped this one. I think the Chargers are kind of due for a letdown game, but I think the Chargers unfortunately will fall short to the Ravens 21-17. Now, when looking at the Ravens, you would think high-scoring game, but I think the Ravens are kind of going to give the Chargers the taste of their own medicine. And I think John Harbaugh will, I hate to say this, I think he knows his brother's game style, and I feel that that's kind of going to be the X factor. I feel John knows Jim all too well, and he knows that you control the clock, you control the run game. They're going to try to match the Chargers tit for tat, and I feel with Lamar Jackson as their quarterback, it's going to be very easy to have that run game. So I feel the Chargers are kind of due for one of those clunker games. I mean, if they're not going to win by that score, they're probably going to win by a little bit higher, maybe like 31-27. I just feel the Chargers are going to fall just short of winning this game. I mean, it'd be great if the Chargers won because it puts their playoff chances a lot higher, and they would have the tiebreaker over the Baltimore Ravens because Ravens are right in the same boat as the Chargers in terms of making the postseason. And honestly, if there's a team I would want to see not win the AFC North, it would be the Ravens because the Steelers have the tiebreaker over the Chargers. And the way the Steelers are playing football, I don't know what to make heads or tails in them. But Chargers, look, again, I will be the first to say congratulations to the Chargers. They proved me wrong. But I just feel that the Chargers are kind of due for a little bit of a clunker game, a clunker/letdown game. But the Ravens are tough. There's a reason why Lamar Jackson is one of the leading vote getters of the MVP votes. But I think this one will be a little bit of a clunker game. I think the Chargers kind of get stifled. Ravens defense is no joke, but so is the Chargers. So I just think it's going to be one of those classic games. It's kind of going to be like one of those classic Big Ten games where it's going to be run and pound, and then the defense is going to have to take care of the O-line and whatnot. So I think the Chargers just fall short in this game, but I just feel that they're kind of due for a little bit of those letdown games. But we'll see what happens. So that's kind of my prediction right there. I know I have bold predictions. I got the Rams winning and the Chargers losing. Yeah, Rams beating a opponent better than them, while the Chargers kind of lose to an opponent that's kind of on their level, maybe a little bit better. But yeah, this is kind of a big game for the Ravens just because they can't afford to fall behind the Chargers and fall further back of the Steelers because Steelers actually lost to the Cleveland Browns last night. But I digress. All right, but that's going to do it for the Chargers and NFL portion of the show. We're going to take ourselves a quick little commercial break. When we come back, we've got the battle for LA with USC and UCLA football. We've also got a little bit of college hoops action, some NBA talk, and the Dumb Dumb of the Week. Keep it locked here. You're listening to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
Hey, Cleveland and Columbus sports fans, this is Jen D. host of the Show of the Land on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. If you love Cleveland and Columbus sports like I do, be sure to tune in live to the Show of the Land on Tuesdays, where we will cover the Cleveland Browns, Cavs, Guardians, and Monsters. We will also talk about the Columbus Blue Jackets, Crew, Fury, and of course, the Ohio State Buckeyes. We'll also cover other colleges in the area like Akron, Kent State, Cleveland State, Mount Union, John Carroll, Baldwin Wallace, Youngstown State, among others. So like I said, if you love Cleveland and Columbus sports like I do, be sure to tune in Tuesdays to the Show of the Land with Jen B on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, everybody? This is Teran Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunder Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And we are back with the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Definitely check out all of our amazing shows, such as the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, or not just the SoCal Supreme Sports Show being this show, but check out the Show of the Land with Jen B, as well as my other show, Set Point. So, yeah, about Set Point, I'm kind of going to have to cut this show a little bit shorter than normal, as I have to head down to Santiago Canyon College to cover the CIF State Championship in Girls Volleyball Division I between Foothill and Palos Verdes. It's going to be SoCal versus NorCal. So NorCal Sports Report, you better get ready for a little bit of banter. So I'm looking forward to covering it, but unfortunately, I'm going to have to cut this show a little bit shorter than normal. Currently, we are 33 minutes into the recording, so there we go. All right, but now let's talk a little bit of some college football. Let's talk some USC versus UCLA. So before we get on into the matchup, UCLA last week kind of had a little bit of a clunker game, as unfortunately they wound up losing to Washington on the road, 31-19. Now, I saw this game on TV. I cannot believe how UCLA just had so many chances to win this game. And then they just kept whiffing it and whiffing it. They're either fumbling it, or they're punting it, or they're missing field goals, or they're just settling for field goals. I just couldn't believe how UCLA, they did everything possible to try to lose that game. This was their game to win. Washington was just trying to hand them the game. They were just saying, "Here, UCLA, you want this game? We don't care about winning." And the interesting thing is that Washington, I didn't even know the statistic. Washington had won 19 straight home games, which I think dates back to like 2 or 3 seasons ago. But regardless, yeah, this was a Washington team that I thought was going to be a little bit scary. I mean, I had UCLA winning, but I didn't know that statistic, by the way. So, yeah, that was a bummer of a game for UCLA. And eventually, UCLA just could not stop Washington's quarterback, and it's very frustrating. That was a tough one. I mean, seeing that, it was basically like seeing comedy or having hacky sacks play. It's like both teams were making mistakes. Like their quarterback, even though UCLA couldn't stop him, he was just throwing interceptions like crazy. It's like, dude, this is the quarterback that SC lost to? What are you doing, USC? But UCLA, what was UCLA doing? It's like they just couldn't put the hammer down on freaking Washington. And it's disappointing because Washington was so beatable. But it is what it is. And UCLA sees its 3-game winning streak they see their 3-game winning streak come to a close, which sucks because now UCLA has got to win out. They got to win out, otherwise they don't go bowling. And it would suck because, well, UCLA did all of that to try to come back from being dead in the water to rattling off wins against Rutgers and Nebraska and Iowa on their homecoming, might I add, to now just seeing themselves not be bowl game eligible. So unless, of course, somehow the committee has like an odd number of teams bowling and then they become the lucky one, the lucky loser. But yeah, UCLA lost a tough one because they just could not put it away. Their offense just could not put together touchdowns and not field goals. I mean, no fault to Ethan Garbers. Ethan Garbers did all that he could to try to like get the win for UCLA, but sadly, it's just how it is sometimes. And sadly, when you don't get touchdowns and you settle for field goals, it's going to go that way. And it's a tough industry just because Washington is a good team, but they're certainly not a great team. Yes, I know they have that impressive winning streak, but now imagine, but do you know their other losses? Their other 5 losses were on the road. So, yeah. So, yeah, tough loss for UCLA. It would have been awesome to see them pull out the win, but them's the break sometimes. All right, but heading over to Saturday's game where USC had Jaden Mayava in his first game, or in his first start. He actually made the most of his first start as USC was able to edge out Nebraska 28-20, which was big. As Ralph Calise pops into the chat room, he says, and with that, have a great. Ralph Calise also says, "Good evening, our boy Teran. I'm still trying to digest the last night of the Steelers loss, but please give me some good news on the Chargers, or give me some good news on or that the Chargers will beat the Ravens this week." And he says, with all that, have a great show, my friend. Yeah, thank you, Ralph. I appreciate that. Unfortunately, I had the Chargers lose. I have the Chargers losing this week, but like if you didn't catch my NFL portion of the show, but I could be wrong. I've been wrong plenty of times, but I got on. If I'm being realistic, I got the Chargers losing, but we'll see. Anyway, but back to USC. Yeah, USC. This was kind of one of those interesting games that USC played against Nebraska. It wasn't really the type of game where they would like blow out Nebraska. Like Nebraska was pretty much on their coattails throughout most of the game. And it was pretty frustrating as an SC fan. And as an SC fan, you're probably on pins and needles all game thinking, oh my God, is SC going to find a way to lose this game? And thankfully for SC's sake, they did not, because this was at the Coliseum. Like USC needed to win this game, because if they couldn't, then they would have needed to run the table in terms of the rest of its games. But Jaden Mayava, he had 259 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns. He did have an interception, which was returned for a pick 6. Now, his pick 6 kind of reminds me of Sam Darnold's first start with the New York Jets, as he played on Monday Night Football against the Detroit Lions. And the first play that he had, pick 6 to the Lions. Rest of the way, Jets just dominated the Detroit Lions. So, yeah, good times for the Jets. Good times for the Jets back when they had Sam Darnold. Back when he wasn't seeing ghosts. But I digress. But yeah, I will say USC did a solid job against Nebraska defensively. Held them to, I mean, I know Nebraska had a little over 300 yards, but Yeah, I mean, you can't hold every team to under 209 or that under 300 yards. So they also got 2 picks against Dylan Raiola. So it was a nice little game for SC. A little bit closer than expected. I mean, the fourth quarter could have gone either way had Nebraska put together some drives to get some points, but you know, these are the type of games that are never easy. Now, thankfully, SC was playing at the Coliseum and they weren't playing at Memorial Stadium, which is in Lincoln, Nebraska. Otherwise, I think USC would have lost. They suck on the road. One more time, excuse me. Sorry, just need to clear my throat a little bit, but yeah, SC is back above 500, or they're at 500. As you know, this is the big one, the battle for LA. And the stakes could not be more higher for both teams as USC and UCLA. This is okay. One of my friends who is a big anti-USC guy, he's a big Michigan fan, but he also likes UCLA and a little and Michigan mostly. He was basically talking lots of smack on me, saying UCLA is going to win. And he's tagging me in every UCLA post. It's like, dude, I don't give a frick. I'm not going to clap back at you, brother. But he basically did say something really informative to me. And I have to go back to X. But yeah, he did say something like very informative. And I have to go back to my standard X account. But he did say something very informative about USC. He said that this is probably one of the worst USC teams that he's seen in a hot minute in like the past 10 or 11 years, which I don't think he's wrong, but he says, yeah, here's his little quote. He says, I know I have bad takes, but this is probably one of the worst SC teams in the last 10 to 11 years. I'm not saying that UCLA is any better because we're not, or they're not. I like how he says we, but this is unacceptable for USC either way. And you know what? He's right. USC has belly flopped. They should have already been bowl game eligible, but they're kind of like the Chargers of old. They're chargering, and it sucks to really say that because all 5 of their losses are by one score. They're lost to Michigan by one score. They should have won that one, but the officials were kind of on Michigan's side. But I digress. They also lost to Minnesota. Probably could have won that one. They lost to Maryland. Could have won that one. They lost to Penn State. Definitely should have won that one. Second half just was not USC's half. And they also should have beaten Washington, which, looking back at the UCLA game, that was USC's to lose. I'm sorry, but that was USC's game to lose against Washington. But yeah, now they're in a situation where they have to win this week. Same with UCLA. This is basically a bowl eligibility elimination game. Whoever loses is not going to go bowling. Now, looking at your UCLA schedule, they have USC this week, and then they've got Fresno State in their final week, which if USC wins, UCLA's out because they're 4-6. They got to win out the rest of the way. Fresno State is not that good. I think they're like 4-6, if not 5-5. Regardless, Fresno State's no threat to UCLA unless UCLA has a flu outbreak. But I digress. But yeah, for UCLA, if they lose this week, they're not bowl game eligible unless they're the lucky loser, aka the committee picks them because there were an odd number of teams that finished 500 or better, and they need one more to fill all the bowl games. So yeah, UCLA needs this win more than SC does. USC also needs the win, but for USC, they have to win this week. I guarantee you, their last game is against Notre Dame, and even though it's at the Coliseum and they've been really good at the Coliseum, I just don't see USC winning that one. I just don't. After the UCLA game and in another rivalry game with the stakes high in that one, I just don't see SC beating Notre Dame next week. But for this week, this is big right here. This is big, and like I said, whoever loses is pretty much going to get eliminated. Unless UCLA has a clunker game next week against Fresno State, which if they do, I will be disgusted beyond disbelief. But the only way that happens is if they have like a massive USC UCLA hangover. But I don't see UCLA having that because Fresno State's not that great. Anyway, but for UCLA USC, this is gonna be such a good game. It's at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time. So for you East Coasters, I feel bad for you. Blame NBC. I'm just kidding. Don't blame NBC, but blame whoever had the time on that. It's going to be on NBC regardless, so it's going to be on prime time. And I think this is USC's first ever NBC game in a hot minute as a Big Ten member. But for USC UCLA, this is going to be a fun one. It's going to be intense. You see right here, USC obviously beat Nebraska 28-20. But they also have been battling the flu this week. They had a massive flu outbreak, which, yikes. Oh, God. Worst time to have a flu outbreak at USC. But, yeah, it really is it's a tough time. It's really, 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 really tough times for SC having that flu outbreak. And it was so bad that Jaden Mayava was the only player at the player rally. And it's like, can you blame all the other USC players? Because no one else wants to get sick or make their condition worse. Everyone's trying to rest up and trying to get to 100% by the time Saturday rolls around. And this isn't going to be like the NFL where they put out their final injury or their injury list where someone is questionable to play, someone's doubtful to play, someone's probable to play, someone's ready to play, or someone's out. It's not going to be like that. So for SC, you just got to cross your fingers and hope that USC is going to be at near full strength. But Jaden Mayava did look pretty solid against Nebraska. He just needs to play good. If he can play good, clean, solid football, hopefully for USC's sake, the rest can take care of itself. But this is definitely a big moment for SC. They've obviously sucked on the road, but this isn't really a true road game. Like USC isn't even going that far. They're going like down like 15 or 20. It's going to be like a 15, 20-minute drive to the Rose Bowl where they get to face, UCLA for the victory bell. But yeah, USC, for the love of God, I swear to all that is holy, USC, you better not lose this game. Otherwise, I'm never going to hear the end of it from a lot of my UCLA buddies. I really just don't want you to lose. But I got USC winning 28-24. I was going to say like maybe 38-34, but it's like, nah, it's too high. There's got to be some sort of defense playing. But I got USC beating UCLA 28-24. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if UCLA found a way to win just because it could go either way with both of these teams because SC needs the win because it's either that or they put their hopes of bowling in the hands of beating Notre Dame, or UCLA wins and they just got to beat Fresno State and then they'll be bowling. So I got USC winning. I feel USC is this one's going to be like the toughest game for them. Like, we're talking about tough games this year. This one, I feel, is going to be the closest. This is going to be the game where they have to grind it out. This is where Jaden Mayava really has to play his big game. He's already got one game under his belt. Now he's got to really put it all together against UCLA. It's going to be on the road. Like, probably 50,000 plus eyes are going to be on him. If not, maybe 100,000 plus eyes are going to be on him in person and virtually. So, Jaden Mayava, you got to have the biggest game of your season. Otherwise, get ready to learn bagging groceries, buddy, or get ready to learn the drive-thru, buddy. And also, if for some reason Jaden Mayava just lays a goose egg with this game, I already could tell you that UCLA's USC benching Miller Moss might be the worst decision out there because it's not even Miller Moss's fault. The dude literally has no time to throw in the pocket, and he's getting sacked and he's getting pressured into making mistakes. And sometimes it's his receivers basically just catching the ball and then just saying, oops, it's going to the other team, intercepted. it's kind of like with Justin Herbert and how his receivers dropped everything and how they pretty much basically gooched every ball. But I digress. But yeah, I got USC winning 28-24. I would not be surprised if I was wrong, but honestly, I think SC will find a way to win. Again, please, USC, if you lose this game, I will never hear the end of it from all my UCLA buddies. And I really don't want to see my mentions on X or in my text messages basically saying, what happened to USC? USC lost. No. Please, USC, find a way. I don't care what it takes, as long as you don't cheat. But yeah, find a way. Just win. Please just don't be a Charger. Don't Charger it. Don't Charger the game. That's all I got to say. Just please don't Charger the game. All right, that's going to do it for the USC UCLA preview. Ethan Garbers is obviously going to be motivated to win this game. And obviously, Jaden Mayava is going to be motivated to win this game. If UCLA wants to have any shot of winning, they got to establish the run. If they can establish the run game, I think that can be UCLA's key to winning. I think USC's key to winning is Jaden Mayava having a great game and the defense, for the love of all that is holy, not breaking. USC's defense cannot break. They can bend, but not break. And UCLA, all they just need to do is not turn the ball over, and they just need to get their run game going. And they also need to keep Ethan Garbers' jersey clean. But that's kind of pretty much the X factors in that game, and I gave the final score prediction. So I'm looking forward to this game, and this is basically a playoff. This is basically has the feels of a playoff game, but it is going to be a bowl eligibility elimination game. And I don't think people are talking about that as much, but I digress. Unless you're on the Big Ten Network. But anyway, that's going to do it for the college football portion of the show. We're going to take one last commercial break. When we come back, we've got a little bit of Lakers to talk about, a little bit of Clippers to talk about, a little bit of college hoops to talk about, and then the Dumb of the Week. Keep it locked here. You were listening to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll be right back after this.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hockey fans, I'm Adam Kernick.
And I'm Zach Puplis.
Together, we are the newest version of Hockey Talk on IE Sports Radio, The Neutral Zone.
Zone.
We love hockey, but we also know it's not everyone's first sport. So we want to make this show as much for new fans as for the diehards.
Whether you can name all the Swedes on the 08 Red Wings Stanley Cup team, or if you can't tell if Varlamov is a goalie or the latest trendy vodka, we're here to help. With facts, figures, and outrageous fans, we bring you all the hard-hitting hockey news you can handle, while still keeping it fun and on the rails. Well, mostly.
So tune in every week as we go around the hockey world, from college to Canada, the minors and the majors, and everywhere in between.
So bring your cellies,
And your one-timers,
you wicked wristas.
and be sure to protect your 5-hole.
Catch the Neutral Zone every week on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We promise not to pick on the Arizona Coyotes every episode.
And welcome back to the final segment of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Definitely check out all of our amazing shows, such as The Neutral Zone with Adam Karnik and Zach Populus, as well as check out Let's Wine About DMV Sports, which I think will be either tonight or tomorrow. That show seems to vary on whichever day it is. But let's get back into the SoCal sports action. So, got to talk a little bit of Lakers as... Look, this loss yesterday really has me mad. They lost to the freaking Magic, who I don't even think had Paolo Banchero. But, oh, man, this loss sucks. Lakers lost their... It's not even that the fact that they lost. They lost, but they lost their first home game of the season. More importantly, the Lakers were leading wire to wire, and then they lost off of I forget the guy's last name, but I think it was Franz Alexander. He hits a go-ahead three with 2.3 seconds left, and suddenly the Lakers are down 119-118, and they wind up losing altogether. It was very frustrating seeing the Lakers lose. This was a game that this was theirs for the picking. I'm sorry, but the Lakers lost this one, and... Man, dude, it's like, how do you lose that one? It's like, how? It just frustrates me it frustrates me to the point where I just want to, like, throw my laptop, or I just want to punch the door right next to me. But, yeah, Lakers lose their first home game of the season. They're still doing pretty good despite this, as they're back in action tomorrow when they face the Denver Nuggets. So... we'll see if the Lakers can bounce back, and I hope that they can. I mean, the Nuggets are starting to kind of find their way, but we'll see. As for the Clippers, they've actually won 3 straight games, as the Clippers, the last time I talked about them, they were actually doing really bad. Like, they had lost 2 straight to the Thunder and to the Houston Rockets, and they lost to the Houston Rockets in pool play of the NBA Cup. But now they've won 3 straight, which is great. They even beat the Golden State Warriors 101-98. That was the true highlight of the Clippers week. So, and that's never an easy team to beat. But hey, that's a great win right there for the Clippers. They've won 3 in a row. And I can hardly wait to see what's in store for the Clip Show, as they're actually back in action tonight in NBA Cup pool play against the Sacramento Kings. So I don't know if the Clippers can win the NBA Cup or advance out of pool play, but they just got to take it one game at a time. And the Clippers are still a work in progress. And I'm just going to say, it's good that they finally dumped Paul George, because sadly the poor dude got another injury with the Sixers, but it is what it is. But for the Clippers, yeah, I mean, it's still a long ways to go this season. Like, there's teams have either played 15 games or 13 games, and there's still a little ways to go this season. So hopefully for the Clippers' sake, they don't bumble toward the end. So you have that. All right, but that's that for the Clippers. So I do want to talk a little bit of college hoops before we get on into Dumb Dumb Week. So there is one team in Southern California that is undefeated, and that is UC Irvine, as they're 4-0. And they actually play tonight against Weber State, which is 1-3. So they should move to 5-0. If not, then we got problems with Russell Turner's team. But next week they're going to get challenged. So next week is Thanksgiving week. They've got Kennesaw State in the Western Slam. They've also got Kent State, and then they've got Towson. Those Midwest opponents are so tough to predict, just because some of these Midwest teams are actually rather good. I mean, they're not like Illinois good or Indiana good or anything of that sort good, but UC Irvine men's hoops, they always are a solid team, and they're probably one of the more solid mid-major teams from like the West Coast or from like the Big West Conference. They always have a great team. They don't have like a great team, but they always have a team that contends every single season for the Big West Conference title. And this year is going to be no different. They're one of two teams that's still undefeated in the Big West alongside Hawaii. So I think Russell Turner's team I wouldn't say has their work cut out, but they've got another solid squad this season, and I can't wait to see what they have in store for us. And I think UC Irvine is going to do great things, and I can't wait to see what they do this season. And that's basically going to be a little bit of that's pretty much it. I know USC lost to Cal in men's basketball, which yikes, Cal. And I know UCLA also lost in men's hoops against New Mexico State. It was either New Mexico State or New Mexico, but regardless, both those teams have taken an L, which sucks just because the UCLA loss was unacceptable. I mean, I guess Cal's kind of good, but man, losing to Cal, dude. Also, happy belated birthday to Eric Musselman, USC men's basketball coach. But on the women's side, USC is still undefeated, as well as UCLA. But UCLA, I know, has South Carolina on the horizon. Good God, that's going to be a tough one. And soon, USC women's hoops is going to play UConn, which their head coach, Gina Arumena, if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, I do apologize. But Coach Gino is basically the all-time winningest coach in UConn history. So, and it's a rematch of last year's Elite Eight game. So I imagine USC is going to be coming out guns a-blazing, or they're going to have that on the back of their mind. But we'll see what happens. All right, that's that for a little bit of college hoops action. Just need to get that out there. So now we got to get on into Dumb of the Week. So Dumb of the Week is an award I like to give out to, which no one is safe from. Anybody can get this award. And we got to turn it back to the NFL, where I have to give this award out. It seems like New York can't have anything good, whether it's in the MLB or whether it's in the NFL. But the New York Football Giants, man, remember how I was talking about Saquon Barkley being on the Eagles and how he's been a masterpiece for the Eagles this season? You know who really could use him? The New York Football Giants. And do you want to know what happened today? The New York Football Giants released Daniel Jones. I'm not kidding you. The New York Football Giants gave Daniel Jones an extension, and now they released him. Oh my God. The Giants, they're dumb, I tell you. The Jets are just as dumb too, because they're a freaking dumpster fire, having lost to the Colts, and they just fired their GM. Both those teams in New York, they are an embarrassment. I don't know who's more embarrassing, though. The fact that the Giants, gave all that money to Daniel Jones and let Saquon walk to the Eagles, and now Saquon's having the time of his life. Well, the Jets are in quarterback obligatory, having freaking released their franchise quarterback who they threw all that money to, and now they're starting Tommy DeVito. They're starting Tommy Cutlets. And the Jets, I know their win over the Texans was great, but man, they're just a dumpster fire. They're an accident waiting to happen. I just can't. I can't with both those teams. And do you want to know what's worse for the Giants? They play on Thanksgiving against the Dallas Cowboys. Oh my God. Anyone who tunes into that, I feel sorry for. But man, oh man, oh man. Giants, it's tough times being a Giants fan. No offense to my boy Ricky K, the host of New York State of Sports. No, nothing against all the fans, but man, it is a bad time to be a fan of freaking New York Jets or New York Giants, because they are an obligatory, I tell you.
But yeah, those are your two dum-dums of the week. I probably had more dum-dums of the week to come. But yeah, man, the Giants freaking released Daniel Jones, their franchise quarterback, who they threw a lot of money to, and now they released him. And then the Jets, they fired Joe Douglas. He's now a new scapegoat for the Aaron Rodgers saga. Oh, man. Oh, man. Tough times in New York football, but I digress. All right, but that's going to do it for this week's episode of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I got to get on out of here just because I obviously have plans, and then I have to, get freshened up a bit. But thank you to everyone for tuning in to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I really do appreciate everybody tuning in. If you listen live, I appreciate you. If you listen on the playback, I appreciate you. If you listen at any time, any place, anywhere, I appreciate you. For everyone here at iSports Radio, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. Have yourself a great rest of the week. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the SoCal sports action. And hopefully, let's all have ourselves a nice, healthy Thanksgiving. I just realized next week is Thanksgiving, so happy Thanksgiving. I don't know if there will be a show next week, just because, if anything, there might be a show earlier in the day, but it all depends on my plans and whatnot. But have yourself a great Thanksgiving. Be with your families, unlike me, who sadly isn't going to be with his family because of work, but I digress. But have a great Thanksgiving. I be thankful for what you have instead of what you don't have. Be with your families. I love y'all, and I will see you all hopefully next week, if not Monday, for Set Point. Have a great rest of the week. Have a great weekend. Have a great Thanksgiving, and remember, SoCal is for SoCal. Peace. And one more thing, I do want to just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. And I know I have lots of jokes and whatnot, but do have a great Thanksgiving and enjoy the holiday. Enjoy time with your families. I love you all, and hopefully we'll have another show next week. But it's a time will tell process. Until then, enjoy the weekend and enjoy your Thanksgiving. Peace and blessings, everybody, as we wait for the final intro video to process and whatnot, because we had a little bit of some technical difficulties, but it is all good. Have a great weekend.